So this next slob that's going to introduce this next amazing person is me. And I am completely honored to be able to introduce our next honoree, because not only she is amazingly deserving of this award, but she is one of those people that has created such dramatic change and impacted our industry without ever really calling attention to herself. I call her the stealth honoree. So Becky Rainer started in the lighting industry in 1981 with a company called Westinghouse, which became part of Cooper Lighting in good old Vicksburg, Mississippi. Her day job has progressed through many roles, including product warranty, quality assurance, quotations, sales, product management, engineering, new product development, and I can assure you that she was one in a million in all those roles. When I joined Cooper in the early 1990s, I almost let it slip how long I'd been there. There were just certain people that you could always go to that would help. Find an unusual answer, help connect you to somebody that had the answer, and even more importantly, the person that was always willing to help. And Becky was that person. But it was what Becky did when she was moonlighting that is probably why she's being recognized tonight. Starting in the mid-1990s, Becky started serving as Cooper's representative for NEMA, National Electric Manufacturers Association, and she served that role for over 20 years, including time as both the chair of the Luminaire section, chair of the Lighting Systems Division, and chair of the Management Committee. For those that don't know, NEMA is an association that represents all electrical manufacturers in Washington, D.C., regulatory and legislative environment. Well, can you imagine an easier gig than getting and working with all your competitors and getting the government to actually do something where we could all agree and build consensus? So now that you know that Becky's a bit of a masochist, she said, well, what the heck? You know, I got one thing down, so let me go ahead and join ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, a consensus organization that writes standards for just about everything you can think of, including lighting, of course. And for you that are involved in area and roadway lighting, you will know the term C136, which is the ANSI standard for roadway and area lighting. Becky has served on that committee for 28 years, including 6 years as the chair. Again, because ANSI is a consensus organization and has to represent the interest of end users, utilities, DOTs, consulting engineers, design firms, manufacturers, distributors, installing contractors, maintenance firms. You can imagine just how easy it is to get all those folks to agree on changes and adaptations as our technology has changed from lamps, ballast and sockets and luminaires to fully integrated solid-state luminaires, with interoperable controls, I might add. And recognizing the evolution of lighting into a more complex system, ANSI formed a new committee, C137, to address these changes. And once again, they looked to Becky for leadership by naming her chair of the Lighting Systems Application Working Group. So of course, Becky said that's not enough to keep me busy. So over the last 20 years, she's been involved with the IES Street and Area Lighting Committee, SALC, and I mean involved. Becky has served on the conference chair, on the planning subcommittee, as the vice chair of both executive and the industry and interchange committees. She has also been part of the IES Roadway Lighting Committee for over 20 years, Outdoor Environmental Committee for 10 years, and the International Dark Side Committee for 22 years. And even though Becky is now retired from her day job, she is still involved as the chair of the IES SALC Committee and Executive Committee. In 2017, NEMA recognized all of Becky's contributions, not just with NEMA, but with ANSI, IES, SALC, IDA, as well as her collaboration with a wide range of other organizations, and they bestowed Becky an amazing award of the Kite and Key Award, excuse me. I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with Becky for nearly 30 years. And sure, I knew she was involved in NEMA and ANSI and IES and SALC, but never once did I hear her promote or celebrate her accomplishments or contributions. And I would like to end by talking just a bit about her character. I think that's what makes her such a deserving recipient of tonight's award. And just to confirm what I thought about Becky, I reached out to a number of people that Becky has worked with over a long career. Competitors, utilities, end users, colleagues, and to a one, we agreed that Becky has the innate ability to bring bright people together, to intentionally seek out those who have differing viewpoints, and yet helps them find common ground. She listens more than she talks, and above all, cares deeply about doing the right thing for our industry and our so many different stakeholders. And lastly, to quote Becky herself, she says, "I'm old school, so you don't end until the work is done." And while this Lifetime Achievement Award recognizes you for all you've accomplished, something tells me you will still know the work is not done. Please join me in congratulating Becky on this amazing award.
I can't believe that was really me he was talking about. I did retire from Cooper after 40 years.
Right here.
After 40 years in 2021. So as he said, as Lance said, though, it's kind of hard to get out of the business. It just kind of sucks you in, like you all know. I did start my career with Westinghouse, and probably it's crazy because when I heard Westinghouse, I mean that was the epitome of lighting. That was the company, and of course now it's kind of disappeared. So that evolved from Westinghouse to Cooper to Crouse-Hinds to Eaton to Signify. So we went through a lot of changes. And I promise you I won't read these 2 whole pages. I talk really quick. But as I started my career in the quality group, in what people like to call the complaint department, and people ask me, even today, what was your favorite job? And that was probably one of my favorite jobs, because every day I could take a customer that was swearing that he would never buy anything else from us again, and I'd make him happy, and he'd be a lifelong customer after that. But I didn't start out like many of you. I didn't go to college and learn anything in lighting. I thought I was going to be an accountant for the rest of my life. But thankfully, God had other plans, and I'm glad he did, because I've loved this business for the last 40 years. But starting in the complaint department, I kind of had to do a lot of learning on my own. You didn't have a lot of people that really wanted to take the time to teach you, so I worked with my engineering group, I worked with sales, but to be honest, I learned the most from the manufacturing people out on the floor. And so I worked my way, I learned the product, I learned the industry, and I have to tell you I think my turning point, I had been out to several jobs before, but I had never had to get in a bucket truck. And so we had this job in Maryland, and I thought, I'm going to get to prove myself. So back in my day, when you flew, you didn't fly in pajamas and stuff like you do now. You wore suits and heels. So I fly up to Maryland, and I've got on this nice suit, and I've got on high heels, and I start to go to the job, and I started thinking, they're going to look at me like, what does she think she's going to do? You know, dressed like that. So I find a place, I pull over, I put on my jeans, I put on my boots. We get to the job site. I'm a little nervous because I know I've got to go 60 feet in the air. I get there, it's not a full bucket, it's a little cage. And I'm thinking, I will not let them see I'm afraid. I will not show that I'm scared. So they get the bucket, I get in the bucket, and they get this, it was a union job, so I had an escort to go up in the bucket. So we get up there, and we're in Maryland, right off the coast. The wind's blowing, and I just grab that bucket, and my hands are tight, and I look at the young man, and I said, I guess you're used to this, aren't you? And he said, no, ma'am, this is the first time I've ever been up here. So I got down as quick as we could, but I fixed the job. So from working in quality and doing that bit, I went into sales and marketing and quotations. I did a little bit of everything. In the mid-90s, as Lance said, my boss came by one day, and like I didn't have enough to do, he said, hey, I hear NEMA's going to be talking about some dark sky stuff and some outdoor legislation. Why don't you just go see and, learn about what they're doing and see what's going on? We need to get involved. So I do. I go to this meeting, and I walk in, I look around. It's a room full of men and one woman, Cheryl English, and I am terrified. I see all these people, and I thought, oh my God, how am I ever going to learn? How am I ever going to everything was just so overwhelming because you're talking codes, you're talking standards, you're talking legislation, you're talking environmental, you're talking energy. It's just mind-boggling. And plus, I didn't know anybody, and everybody in that room was my competitor. So I thought, how in the world is this going to work? And so thanks to Cheryl, she made me feel at ease. She said, you'll get it. And she was right. It took me a little while, but I did get it. I became vice chair of the Luminaire section about, I think, the next year, and I thought, well, this will be easy, you know, because we only meet twice a year. I said, this will be easy because, you know, I'll get to watch him for 2 years. Well, the next meeting, he had left the company, so guess what? I was chair of the Luminaire section. I didn't even know everybody's name, so it was, I had to jump in real quick and try and learn some things, and thankfully, they gave me a chance 2 years or 3 years later to become the Luminaire section chair again, and then become the division chair. So that was good. At least it gave me time to learn. And it was great. I love that job, but if you've never been to any NEMA meetings, some of them are, you keep moving all the time, and some of them, you know, you'd rather be eating paint sometimes, I think. But it was, I guess, one of my very favorite things to do with my company. And as Lance said, at the same time, I decided to become part of ANSI. And if you've not been involved with ANSI is a combination of manufacturers, designers sometimes, general interest people, and the end users. So you butt heads an awful lot. But after being chair for 6 years, I found out the best way to get things done is not open the bar or let them leave the room until a decision is made. And usually that kind of moves it along pretty good. So, and again, I was fortunate to become involved with IES, with the Street and Area Lighting Committee, the Outdoor Lighting Committee, the Roadway Committee, a lot of different groups. And working with all these groups, you really learn to compromise. Thanks to Cheryl, she is the best, I think, at compromise and being able to bring everybody to the table and make decisions that are best for the industry, not just the best for you. So I would like to thank so many people. Some are here, some are not, but that have mentored me over these years, these many years. One of my first was a gentleman by the name of Donald Huseby. I know probably none of you in this room remember him. He was a member of the Roadway Lighting Committee for years. He's 95 years old. He still loves lighting, and he has some videos on PBS. So if you ever get a chance, look him up and listen to that. But so many people that that have mentored me and have taught me so much: Rita Harrell, Dr. Ron Gibbons, Bill Hanley, Cheryl again, Nancy Clanton, Shirley Coyle, Pam Horner, Ian Lewis. The list just goes on. I would not be here without the leadership of all of those individuals. But most of all, I'd like to thank my family for supporting me with all of the endless, crazy travel that I have done in the last 25 years or so. All those red eyes from California, all the nights getting stuck in DC or New York. They really put up a lot, but they never complain. So thank you to my family that is here with me tonight. So thank you. I am very honored.